Hello, and welcome to our program. This is the Porch Ideas Network with your hosts, Dave and Mary Morris.
Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Mary.
Welcome to our audio program featuring experts and fellow porch lovers who share tips for creating a fantastic porch and yard.
We are very excited to have you on our porch today, so let's get right to our topic. Today, Dave and I are super excited because we have on our porch Jami and Brian Boys. Jami and Brian live out in Oregon, and Jami has a wonderful blog called OregonCottage.com. And Jami and Brian are friends of ours, and we learned about a wonderful backyard
Project
transformation.
Although it's not a porch, we still like outdoor stuff. But we like outdoor stuff. So
we like really anything that's outdoor rooms.
So this is really cool.
This is awesome. And so we want to welcome you, Jami and Brian, to our porch.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Glad to be here.
You are so welcome. And so, Jami, you have been the founder of an Oregon Cottage, and I know that you write some wonderful posts about cooking and do-it-yourself projects and decorating, and I love the things that you write about. So just tell us a little bit about yourself and about Oregon Cottage, and then we'll get started.
Great. Well, thank you first for having us. It's just such a privilege to be here. And let's see. Well, an Oregon Cottage was started about 6 years ago, and it just is a way that I could share how we're changing our 1982 ranch into kind of more of a cottage look. We do a lot of it ourselves. We did put a large porch on the front, but we didn't do a lot of that ourselves. And we did this backyard as part of it. And I did want to mention we do have a gazebo. Does that count as a little porch?
Yeah, we'll take that.
It absolutely does.
It's kind of a way that I can share and really encourage people to just not be afraid to do things, whether it's cooking, gardening, or decorating, just to do things yourself and embrace the imperfections and just make it personal and part of you and easy. Everything's easy on an Oregon Cottage.
Well, I can certainly attest to that because I read all of your posts.
Yeah.
And I try some of your recipes even. So,
thanks.
Well,
so thank you. Go ahead, Dave.
Thank you. But I want to jump in there with the fact that this project really caught our eye because we like do-it-yourself stuff. And, to hire, on TV they have the swimming pool guys that create these massive, wonderful outdoor swimming pools. Mm-hmm. And then they have the treehouse guys. And I know one of those, the budget for one of those was like $180,000. The guy said, I have $180,000, go build me a treehouse.
Okay.
Well, that's not, that's a financial hardship for those guys, I'm sure. But this kind of stuff is what I really like. And I think a lot of people that listen to our podcast and stuff are really going to appreciate a project like this.
Absolutely.
Because this actually turned out really amazingly. And for the folks that are listening, if you want to go to OregonCottage.com and see this, what we're talking about, that would be fine too, because the pictures and stuff will have it on our site. But it really is neat, a do-it-yourself kind of thing, and so I think a lot of our listeners are going to enjoy this.
Absolutely.
Project.
So let's just kind of get down to it and tell about this project. So the two of you undertook this, I'd kind of call it kind of a large project because you gave your whole backyard a big makeover. And so before the whole thing started, kind of just set the stage for us and tell us what your backyard looked like before you did this wonderful transformation.
We've been in our house for 10 years. And so when we first moved here, it was just grass and a fence. And it had a large fir tree in the corner. It also had things like cement and a dog run that you looked at and raised septic lids. They're kind of green and they pop up about a foot from the grass.
Yeah.
And all of this is what you looked at out your kitchen and your dining room window.
Yeah.
And then, of course, this great, big, huge deck. And 1 foot off the ground. It was just a huge deck. So that was what we started with, basically. And we just gradually, I couldn't stand to look at these raised, lids from the septic and the cement dog run. So we gradually started taking those off and planting lots of things around the edge of the yard. And that's what we did first. And we kind of ignored this huge deck for many years.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's pretty big based on the pictures.
Yeah, so can you say kind of how big that was? Do you know the dimensions?
It's 24 feet square, so
Yeah.
that's 576 square feet.
Oh,
wow.
yeah,
Yeah,
that is a
I'll
nice.
just chime in on when we knew. We ignored it as long as we could. That it was I don't know how old it was, but it was made with like sunwood, so not pressure treated wood,
Yeah.
but wood that's been treated for weather. But in Oregon, it stays wet like 6 months of the year, and so it was making like this moss. It was like a skating rink if it was wet. And then pretty soon, some of our larger relatives, we'd hear we'd feel like a crunch. And one time our daughter was on a pogo stick and she went through the deck. I mean, nobody was hurt, but we're like, oh. So we as much as we could, we replaced the really rotten boards, and then it just got to where it's like we can't repair this anymore. So that was time for the next step.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So did you have some idea of what you wanted your backyard to become? Like, did you have a vision?
Yeah, and one of the things about, you spend a number of years planning and doing what you can because you're working with a budget, you're doing it yourself, and it also gives you time to really think about what you want and how you're using the yard. And I know a lot of people really love decks, and I understand that when they're high up, you don't have a choice. But this was like right on the ground. And it just, to me, seemed like this huge expanse of nothing. And it was very odd how to fill it. Like, where do you put your seating? Where do you put your grill? What do you have under the, it just was just an odd thing to me, this huge space. It just seemed like you walked, if you put the dining table way out the edge, then you walked all the way out there. But then why would you have it there? I don't know. It also had this odd corner cover. It just was 4 posts and a big cover, and it was really high, and it was in one of the corners of the deck.
Huh.
Oh.
So we were dealing with all of that. So kind of as we lived with it, I knew that I wanted the idea of outdoor rooms, and I wanted, definitely high on the list was an herb garden right outside that I could go right outside the kitchen.
Oh,
Yeah,
of course, for all your wonderful cooking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another reason why you don't want a ground level deck, is if you have a privacy fence, like we have a 6-foot privacy fence all around the backyard, you step up, the deck is 15 inches off the ground.
Yeah.
Now you can see into all the neighbors' yards. It's like, well,
why have the fence?
Why have a privacy fence if you're going to,
Yeah. Yeah.
That's another reason.
Oh, that's funny.
We had a few eyesores to take care of, which is another reason why we did a lot of planting first, because we needed those plants to grow.
Sure.
Well,
that's a good way to do
makes
it.
sense.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
Okay, so then did you have you had kind of a vision of what you wanted your backyard to be. So then did you come up with a plan, and did you write something down?
I did. I sketched out a very rough plan, but since we had this area, this 24 by 24 area, we just decided to kind of use that. And in our remodeling, there were a couple things we had done. We wanted to connect the back laundry room door, which used to be the garage door, but now it was the back laundry room. We needed to connect that with walkways, like it just went into the grass, and grass is muddy.
Yeah.
So another one of our goals was to make sure that we would, if we went out to get wood, it wouldn't be going through the mud because it's wet most of the time here. So we had all these practical things we needed. We also had added a door to our bedroom, our master bedroom, which is near the dining room, and we wanted to connect all these doors through a path system so that you'd never be tromping through the wet grass.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, so those kind of ideas, wanting to have an area for dining, wanting to have an area for sitting, and then the herb garden, those were all things that kind of guided our vision for the space.
And all interconnected with the pathway.
Yeah.
And we knew there was, I don't know if we said this, but at the corner of the deck was kind of, we call it a gazebo. It was like four posts holding a roof over a little area of the deck.
Well, it wasn't a gazebo then. We made it into
I mean, I guess you're right. It was like a sheltered area out, probably 2 feet square out at one corner. And so basically our plan was we knew we were going to demo the deck, but under that structure, the wood was actually good because it hadn't been rained on.
Yeah.
So kind of part of our plan was we cut that out of the deck and left it freestanding, and then we took out all the rest of the deck, and we basically had to see what was under the deck. Then we could decide how big, like we'll make a much smaller kind of porch deck.
Yes.
But how big it was would be determined by what was under there. You know, what of the original struts we could use.
Well, that's a good way. That's a good way to do that. You know, that saved you some money too.
It did, yeah, because a lot of the, what do you call those, the beams, the
posts?
that supported the deck
The joists, I guess.
were fine. Those beams were fine, and we could reuse those and the cement footings.
Yeah. So that's great.
Oh, that's
be able
neat.
to do that.
So you were
Sure.
able to utilize some of that deck in your new layout.
Well,
Oh yeah, and since we kept the gazebo, there were certain parts under the structure we made into a gazebo that needed to be replaced, and we wanted it to be the same color, so we actually had some wood that was still usable from the deck, and we just patched whatever needed
use
to be
that.
patched
Yeah.
around that. Yeah.
Well, another interesting feature that you have, and one that a lot of people should consider if they want to keep the cost down, is the gravel that you used.
Yes.
Because if you use pavers or stone and
Mhm.
thing, it's rather expensive.
It does get really expensive.
So
Yeah.
what kind of gravel is that stone dust or is it crushed gravel or is that something else, Brian?
I think it's crushed gravel.
Okay.
We learned the wrong way on some other paths that we were getting like driveway gravel,
Yes.
which is they'll start at 3/4 but go all the way down to real fines.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It packs nicely, but in pathways it's a weed bed. It gets kind of some soil. But this in the back we learned, and it's pretty much like 3/4 to 1/2 inch crushed, and there's no dirt in it, and so
it's actually called no fines. It's 3/4 crushed gravel, no fines,
Okay.
which means nothing. Yeah, so it's pretty much just the gravel. You don't get all the little gravel dust.
Yeah.
So you
Oh.
put down 6mm plastic and gravel, and you're absolutely right. Per square foot, it's so much cheaper than wood, than some wood or whatever the treated wood.
Yeah.
We did have to edge it for the grass, so we did use edgers for that.
Okay. What kind of edging did you use for that?
We just tried to find the cheapest thing. So
Sure.
they're actually long, 2-foot long cement edgers, and do they have a scallop on the edge?
Yeah.
They have a scallop on the edge, but I didn't want the scallop look, so we actually put the scallop in the ground.
Yeah,
And so
okay.
it's flat.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's an
yeah, that's
innovative
good.
way. You just turn it upside down.
Yeah, well, I
Okay.
learned that because we inherited a lot of those when we bought the house,
Uh-huh.
and it just was too fruit-free for me. And so I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
put it
Sure.
down in the front, and so I thought, well, because you can get those edgers, I think they're only a couple dollars each.
Yeah.
So you're really only paying $1 a foot, so
Yeah.
it made it worth the
Yeah, it
edge.
works out
Okay.
real well. And that gravel works. We just did a walkway around our house, and I used the crushed stone for that. And then what I did on top of ours is I actually packed it down, and then I actually, for our walkway, I put a thin layer of pea gravel on top.
Oh wow.
Oh, yeah.
And that really
Which
looks
is
nice.
nice to look at.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and for that. And with pea gravel, just for people listening, is you don't want to go too thick with pea gravel because then it's hard to
It's
walk
too
on.
squishy to walk in.
Yeah.
It gets too soft. But we just have a thin layer.
With the pavers in too.
Oh yeah, you could always put in paper.
Oh yeah, in fact, one
absolutely.
area by the house, in between our wraparound porch and our little side deck, I use the crushed gravel, but then it's already set for put pavers on top of that, and that's what
Yeah.
I'll be doing here later when the
That's what we always
snow
thought
melts.
too, is we could just start with this gravel, start using it, and then if we decided we wanted to put pavers like under the dining table area or it would be easy.
Easy
add.
to do, yeah, absolutely. So yeah.
But we've actually found we like it. I mean, I was wondering how the chairs would be, but it's very European. Gravel
Yep. Yeah.
patios are you see them all the time. And the chair, everything's fine. Nothing, it doesn't, everything balances fine. It's
Yeah.
fine.
That
Actually
looks
fine.
really well. It looks great.
And being that you have a cottage ranch style home, I think it looks perfect.
Yeah.
So maybe for our listeners who don't have the advantage of seeing these beautiful pictures that we're looking at right now, why don't you describe what your backyard looks like now that you've done your project?
Okay. Well, let's see. Instead of the big, so imagine a 24 by 24 space, but now instead you come out French doors and you have sort of an entry deck porch area. And how big is that?
It's 13 and a half by 6.5 feet, so much small.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
very
much smaller,
nice.
but definitely you can walk out with a couple of friends. That's where I have the planters, so I have flowers and evergreens and stuff planted there. Then you step one step down to the gravel, and on the right side of this entry patio is the herb garden. So it's right outside the back door. And you can also reach at the other side from the laundry room door, so you can get to it really easy to clip herbs for your dinner. And then we've got the dining patio that's all gravel, and then you step up one step to go into this gazebo we made. And so we just made the structure into a gazebo basically by putting rails around it and 2 steps up into it. And it made it more of a little room.
Yeah, really great. Little nice outdoor room.
Yeah.
And I like
nice.
how you describe it as like an outdoor living room.
Yeah, especially, and last year we got cushy furniture for it. So that was amazing.
Really nice.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. Did you have some kind of a budget that you set up for your project?
You know, we just do everything as kind of scrappy as we can. And I was trying to remember with Brian how long. I think because you remember he started it when it was cold, so I think he started dismantling it in maybe March, and we didn't actually finish it until October. I didn't post about it on the blog until October. So
Okay.
we kind of did work on it all, month by month, kind of doing what we can, taking it apart. We'd go and buy a few things. So each month in our budget, we just wouldn't buy the next thing. So it's always as cheap as we can.
Yeah.
We don't really start out with we didn't start out with a.
Yeah, with a defined budget.
And so also right next to the gazebo is where we put the grill, and it's right next to the dining table below it. So it just all works out really nice as far as it makes sense for the rooms and the outdoor room area.
But I like what most people would like about this is just the fact of the materials you used, how you reused some of the materials you had before to create this look, and it's really turned out really nice.
So can you tell us, where did you start on your project? Did you do the walkways first, or you tore down the deck first, or what was the process?
We tore the deck down first.
Yeah, that was my guess. That's probably where I would have started too.
It was covered by the deck, so job one, tear down the deck.
Yeah, that
down
would have been
the
mine. Get rid of that. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, that had to come first.
Absolutely.
Well,
And then I think as soon as, so we did that first, and he was kind of working on piecing together the new gazebo area and doing that. And I really wanted to get the herbs planted because it was spring. So I think I started trying to figure out that area right away while he was doing the other wood kind of stuff.
Yeah, the herb garden looks really nice.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
we could probably do
really
a whole other podcast on the herb garden. That was beautiful.
The herb garden has a great little brick pathway, which was another, I think when we bought the house, there was a pile of bricks, and I don't know if you do this, Dave, but you I want to save those, so you move them. You're like, oh, shoot, I got to move those. So I've probably moved that pile of bricks 4 times.
Yeah.
Before I'm I'm so excited, let's use these things.
I know. When this house was built, the subdivision was going up that we're in, it was being bricked, all the homes were being bricked, and after they were done, I'd go over with a wheelbarrow and bring back loads and loads of brick. For people that are listening, that a lot of the builders, it's not cost effective to reuse that brick. And so what they do is they just discard it. So
they throw it in a dumpster.
They throw it in a dumpster and it goes to the dump. So a lot of times, if anybody needs brick and there's a subdivision being built, they should contact the builder because most of them won't mind having the brick hauled away. They don't have to do it. But so I understand, Brian. I understand moving stuff. Yeah. I can use that someday, somewhere. For that. But
we did. It was nice.
But we see that your herb garden, just to talk about a little bit, is just a combination of in-ground, and you've got planters with stuff in it. It looks really nice. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I did have to put some things in planters because it's against the house, and there's the area under the eaves that doesn't get water when it's raining. So I didn't want to, and of course you don't want to plant right next to your foundation. So I put some planters along, a fountain in the center, and then a couple of planters, and then just the herbs then are more of the perennial herbs like rosemary that continues to grow, and they're out a little further, so they kind of, as they grow, they take that space. But so I did have to think about that a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good point about people planting under your eaves. You got to really watch that with the water. That's a really good point. That a lot of people make a mistake when they plant, whatever is they're planting is underneath. You got to watch that a little bit.
So that it gets water.
And I think the recommendation is always like 2 feet away from your foundation. Sometimes that's just like, that would have looked silly here. So I went a foot, and I just figure out, I can keep things trimmed but there's only really a couple of plants. I think a sage and a rosemary that I planted under that. Otherwise, they're the planters that can move.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Mary doesn't know this yet, but I'm planning on using your idea on our side of the house for the herb garden down on our side of the house over there.
Oh,
so
okay.
she's learning that out now. So
it's okay as long as the deer don't like it.
Well, yeah.
No, they don't typically like herbs. There are probably, I say that, and there's always a few of them, but herbs are one thing and my mom lives in a really deer-infested area, and she could usually always grow herbs out and not worry about them.
I guess because they don't like the fragrance of them.
Right. We all know that when they're really hungry, they'll eat anything.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. Now that you have your backyard project done, what are the ways that you use your backyard?
Oh, well, we love it. We use it daily when it's warm and nice out. We're either, I'll go out and eat lunch, or we'll take our work out there because we work at home. So now we can sit in the gazebo. We do that. We have lots of people out and dinners and parties, and it's just worked out really great. Yeah, wonderful. We use it all the time.
Well, very good. Well, we have certainly enjoyed having Jami and Brian on our porch today and telling us about their backyard makeover. And we encourage you to visit our site or visit an Oregon cottage to see the beautiful pictures that they have of their backyard makeover. And we want to give Brian and Jami just a little chance to tell a little bit more about their blog. So, Jami, you want to take it away?
Sure. If you're looking for any kind of easy do-it-yourself, inspiring, want to dip your hand into anything, you probably find it on an Oregon cottage. I do a lot of really easy crafts, a lot of homemade gifts that people will not think are homemade, and food that everybody in our family really does eat. And, fun stuff like that. So if you're looking for that kind of thing, Oregon Cottage is your place.
Very good.
Very good.
And I will attest that Jami does use the herbs from her herb garden.
Yeah, she does.
And Jami and Brian have a fantastic YouTube channel in Oregon Cottage. Highly recommend visiting that as well. So thank you so
really
much,
appreciate it.
Jami and Brian, for being on our porch today and sharing about your backyard makeover. We certainly appreciate it, and would love to have you back on our porch again.
We'd love to. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Oh, you are so welcome. Today's show was brought to you by PorchIdeas.com, and we hope you stop by to get ideas for designing, building, and decorating your porch.
You have been listening to the Porch Ideas Network. We invite you to subscribe to our podcast to get creative and innovative ideas for your porch and yard.